Imagine a comedian that can take the innocence of child stick figures and utilize that to have brutal commentary on social issues that are oftentimes taboo. That is my guest today, Hugleikur Dagsson, who is known in Iceland and internationally for his type of comics that really touch on issues that can make you laugh, cringe, or even make you want to write some comments. He's a fascinating character, and getting insight into how he thinks and creates is something that I think you'll really enjoy. I know I have. And we're doing this in collaboration, this particular series, the In Bed series, with Center Hotels, where I am right now. And if you want to save 25% on staying at one of the hotels, you can use my code ATI25 and be able to stay in Reykjavik and bask in the many amenities that this hotel provides at their different locations. I am so stoked to be welcoming Hugleikur Dagsson to the All Things Iceland podcast. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we've got a lot to cover because you are a fascinating human, I have to say, in my opinion.
Yes, well, your opinion is correct. I am.
Exactly. Perfect. So as long as we're in agreement about that.
I agree. I concur.
Yes. And at the same time, you know, your mind, there are so many people who are comedians and they have a very different style. You have become known for your stick figure cartoons.
Right, yes.
But there's more too. There's more layers to you. And before we go into kind of like that part of your career, I'd love to learn a little bit about your upbringing and how it's helped to shape your comedy and how you express yourself.
Okay, yeah, well, my upbringing, I was born in Akureyri, but I grew up in Vesturbær in Reykjavik. Well, first years of my life I grew up in Sweden, but then I was in Vesturbær, and I've been there and in downtown for most of my life. Once in a while I've moved to, Amsterdam or Berlin for a little while, but but I'm pretty much always here.
Yeah. So you're Icelandic to the core.
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah. And do you think that has made a difference in terms of your comedic style or how you've developed your expression of, societal things in comedy?
Maybe, yes. I think, I don't know if my my style or sense of humor is like particularly Icelandic, but people do say so that Icelanders have a darker sense of humor than other nations. Somebody once had the theory that the farther away that you are from the equator, the darker your sense of humor becomes, and also maybe it's like a genetic thing, like it's something I inherited from, my forefathers and mothers which just lived in darkness and mud.
Yeah, it's like, how do you get through it? Tell really horrific jokes that make everybody laugh and cringe a little bit.
I think it was like a self-preservation thing, just humor probably.
Might be. Yeah. I mean, I've heard Icelanders and Finnish people have a similar like laughing at inappropriate times in movies type of humor, right? So it's like, they're like stabbing them. They're like, ha ha ha, that's crazy. And as a comedian, I mean, you've done radio shows, comedy, stand-up, all of that. But what made you think, let me use stick figures as a way of expressing my thoughts and my comedic,
that was
style?
A total accident.
Really?
Yes. I've been working with stick figures since I started drawing, because that's probably the first thing you draw.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very child, like innocent type of
absolutely
way of expressing.
And I remember, like, as a kid, I used to draw like stick figure, like I even drew like stick figure comics, because it was just a faster way to tell a story. You don't have to go into the details of the anatomy. But I always wanted to be like a proper comic book artist.
Okay.
And I was actually thinking of doing like horror or sci-fi comics, even superhero comics and stuff like that. But wasn't really any encouragement in Iceland for stuff like that.
Yeah.
It didn't fit our culture when I was younger, and so I just went to a real art school.
Okay.
Like the Icelandic Academy of the Arts, to at least see where that would point me. And sometime between my second year and my last year, I was like in Seyðisfjörður.
Yeah,
I was doing in the
Beautiful
east. Beautiful
town. Everyone should go there, and that fjord is incredible.
That's where my career was born, because I was supposed to do like a show with a couple of other art students, like an exhibition, and there probably was maybe 5 hours till the opening. I had already done some watercolor paintings of sharks eating people.
That's watercolors. It's sorry. Watercolors normally like so like delicate and sweet, and it's just like
yeah, you really get a good splatter effect, you know.
Exactly. You've always been on theme.
Yeah, it was still, you know, it was like, yeah, and I did like pictures of exploding airplanes, but it wasn't really like comics. But then just like maybe 5 hours before the opening of the exhibition, I found myself like, I need one more piece. So I started drawing the first thing I could think of, and it was just 2 little stick figures.
Yeah.
And one of them says, "Fuck me."
Okay.
It's barely a joke.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's joke-ish.
Yeah.
And I just, okay, this is kind of cute. So I did another one, and it just started turning into I did 30 jokes in maybe like 30 minutes.
What? Okay,
really
so it was just
fast.
streaming out of you.
Just streaming out, and I was
That's
just
amazing.
the first ridiculous thing I could think of, and I put that on a show, and people were laughing at it at the exhibition, and I thought, okay, maybe I should do more of these.
Yeah.
And
lean into what's working, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That's fascinating. Okay. And okay, so I would say it wasn't a mistake as much as it was like something in you like flipped a switch almost that allowed you to come to this simplistic way of doing it that then you realized was not only easier but like was getting across your point. But for me, when I think about your cartoons, and I'll have links, of course, to like, you know, all your different like social medias for people who are not familiar with him, it could be a little jarring depending on which one you find first, but it's also fascinating. And I think there's social commentary going on, but how do you keep it simple? Because I think it's easy to overdo it. So is there like an editing process for yourself where you're like, okay, no, I don't want to say or try to write too much here. I want to kind of allow for there to either be like some interpretation or conversation around it or something.
Yeah, it is a part of the process to actually just keep it simple.
Yeah.
So I always have a notebook with me whenever I think of something that could work as a cartoon joke. I draw it very like quickly down, and often when it goes when I do it properly, I find myself like editing, like, can this be shorter? How can I come this across in as few lines as possible? But then again, I just sometimes I add a tree for no reason.
Yeah.
Because like this is they're doing a horrible thing here. It would be funny if there was just a tree here and a bunny maybe behind the tree.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of it is well thought out, except for random elements at times.
Sometimes like because I feel like it, and I have to mix it up, stuff, But yes, it's I've been doing probably now maybe like 5,000 jokes, so it's all kind of become a part of my just of how do you say, vöðvaminni, my muscle memory.
Yeah, because you've practiced it so much. It just again streams out of you.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you don't have to worry about watercolors and whether or not the shark blood is
no
is the right taint,
Maybe I should get back into watercoloring,
I think you would make a killing with your like watercolors of these types of situations. I think it'd be hilarious.
They will be very messy, but it will be cute,
cute's one way of thinking about it.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
I mean, if you can't read, everything I do is kind of cute. You know, most of the things.
It is,
most
even
of-
like Satan and everything.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Satan looks a little adorable today.
Yeah. Just don't read what he's saying. Well,
Exactly.
actually, Satan in my comics is probably the most like innocent of all.
Yeah,
Like,
it's tame.
It's the people that are worse.
Which is, in terms of social commentary, I think that's also another fascinating. You just hit on that without maybe meaning to, but I think oftentimes your comics are saying something of a broader aspect, right? Is that always been important to you, to feel like you're having commentary on social issues? Like, is that a very big part of your process, or sometimes it's just like, no, I just think this is funny, I'm gonna say it?
Well, a lot of times it's just I'm just trying to be funny.
Okay.
But and then but when I find myself when I find a joke that's not only funny but it's also saying something, that's something that's kind of makes it all worthwhile, because
Yeah.
you know I feel like they're more than just a poop joke maker.
Yeah.
Poop joke maker. And but yeah, so early, like in my career, when people were when I got to like book reviews, until like my fourth book, and book reviewers were like, this is the same thing all over. It's always the same thing. We can't keep saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So they stopped reviewing my books, but that's okay. They gave me good reviews while they had something to say.
Yeah.
And they said yeah, this is like social commentary. This is like this is more deeper than you think. And I was like, yes, it is. And it
You're like,
is.
sure.
I am smart. and so I kind of because I needed someone else to say that for me to realize that what it was, because it was already that. But then I'm more conscious now of it. So whenever if there's something horrible out in the world when I feel like I need to say something about, I try to find a way to say it within my kind of parameters.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I mean, I've seen on social media, I think it was on Facebook in particular, where you were having some issues around like censorship or violations, even though you're drawing stick figures that could have, anatomy of a or seemingly that, right? The kind of depiction of that, of like a penis or something.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, because this is obviously hindering you from reaching your audience, if you get enough violations where they take down your account or suspend it for some time. And I've seen that you started to censor it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that, I'm assuming that must be very frustrating for you, right? To have this like decision where in order to stay on these platforms, you have to change your work a little bit.
Yes, it would be frustrating if it weren't for the fact that my followers, when they get outraged over censorship, it actually gets me more followers. So in that way, censorship can help me.
Okay.
And sometimes if you just put a black box somewhere in the picture over the naughty part, it actually makes the joke funnier, which is kind of frustrating. Like, I can't believe my censorship jokes are funnier than than my naughty ones. But also, like, whenever I do that, I try to turn it to my benefit. So whenever I have a joke that need to be censored because I know it breaks the Facebook rules, I put a link for my Patreon, or where you can buy the book, where you can see this picture uncensored. So I try to turn it into an advertisement for myself.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
Turning lemons into lemonade.
It is. But I have to be careful, because I also post a lot of like old jokes. Like, every other joke I put on the social media is something old, and every other is new. So I sometimes and also I use this this program where I kind of post just into the future, like ahead of time. So I have the next year pretty much planned.
Nice, look at you! You're so prepared. That's awesome.
And when I got like the Facebook restrictions recently, when I got the warning, I had to go over all of my next year to see. Okay, this one has a penis. Okay, there's another penis. It's mostly if it's sexual, and it's actually just AI that is kind of scanning it. So if the AI recognizes, AI didn't used to recognize a stick figure penis, but now it does.
Tell you that damn AI. It's getting more advanced.
Learning.
Exactly. Yeah. And have you ever had it where people were reporting your things? Was that an issue at some point?
That used to be the thing.
Okay.
I got reported before AI. That's when people reported, and then you could, appeal.
Yeah, it's to a person who would be like, oh, okay, no, whatever. Or maybe they would go in the other direction, but at least you had an individual to talk to.
And you could go like, actually, this is, ironic or sarcastic, and they didn't get it. And sometimes it goes back in, and like, okay, and sometimes it didn't. But now if you appeal to another machine. So it's like so there's one machine like detective that's looking out for stick figure penises, and then there's a machine judge that
it's like RoboCop and
exactly.
Okay, that's fascinating. But it seems that I didn't realize that it was working in your favor, so I'm glad to hear that this has turned into something actually worthwhile for you to push more.
I try. I mean, people love being they love having opinions about censorship, and so if it really gets my audience engaged, so that's fun, and and I get it. It's like Facebook is an open platform. There's not really children, but there are old people there. I don't mind when people get offended, because I think it would be a horrible world where nobody would get offended with my stuff. That would be so strange, and I would feel like I was doing something wrong. Like if this doesn't, I'm not trying to offend, but if it doesn't offend anyone, then what does it mean?
Clearly not a people pleaser, right? You're just like, that's on you if you're offended.
I mean, I don't need to please them all.
Right. Okay. And is that something that you developed, or have you always felt this way, that you're just like, because as a comedian, I think, going up on stage, there's always going to be the opportunity for somebody to just be a jerk or not be as happy with their comedy. Yeah. So is that something that you developed in your career, thicker skin for just being like, oh, okay, you don't like it, whatever?
It definitely got thicker throughout my career, but I think it's an opinion I've always had, in a way that, if you don't like it, you don't like it, and I can't do anything about it. Right. And also, I actually, it rarely happens, but I love it when people tell me face to face that they don't like my stuff, because I get that so much respect towards that person. Like, you actually said it to my face, not
behind a computer. Anonymous sometimes.
I was like, oh yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for telling me. I mean, that's and they often, like, from my reaction, they go like, yeah, well, you're welcome.
It's just like, I thought you were going to be upset and I was ready to argue with you. And you're like, nah, it's fine.
And they go like, oh, I do love some of your stuff. But
they start to backpedal a little bit. Like, I guess you're not that bad. You are human, by the way. I think that's another thing, too. It's so easy on the internet to forget humanity. Right?
It is. And also I also have that thing that all comics have, which is when I scroll down the comments, which you shouldn't do.
Correct.
But my manager says that I should engage. He says, if you engage, it says here, if you engage, you will get more. Okay, so I go on, and it really feeds my ego, because it's mostly like compliments. But then there's one really nasty one, and that's the one I notice. That's the one that sticks, and I wish that wouldn't happen.
It is annoying. I agree. It's something about our brains that focuses on the negative when you could have 99% positive. And I have the same thing. I have a very, thankfully, like on my different platforms, people are really positive. But you do get that one person that's like, why would you do that? Or just saying something they don't even know about the content itself. They just are having a bad day. Maybe they're wasted. I literally had someone on YouTube once tell me that they wrote a comment that was really mean. And I put a question mark. And the next day they were like, I was so drunk yesterday. And I was like, what? So it's just like you're scrolling on YouTube, wasted, and like just leaving mean comments for people. Like they're, you just don't know what mindset people are in. But I think I'm just wondering with yours, are people pushing back against the message? Is that the negative thing that you're getting that sticks with you? Or is it just like someone saying just something not constructive and just mean?
Yeah, it's all kinds. It's if it's sometimes my my cartoons get really dark. I mean, some of them are like dealing with the darkest parts of humanity, and I'm just making a like out of it.
Yeah,
and that's something that can be triggering for people. So if I can see sometimes if there's something negative, but I can see like there's a pain behind it. But then I don't. That doesn't bother me in that kind of way. I don't get defensive. I mean, like, I totally understand. And why should you like this? But then there are other people who like. For example, I have done jokes about I've done jokes about child molestation.
Yeah.
And I've gotten like comments like, okay, I liked everything you did up until now. Now you crossed the line. I'm like, yes, obviously I crossed the line because if there's a line to be crossed, it's this one.
Yeah.
But then I've also gotten like messages from people who were molested as children, and they were like, "Thank you for doing this. This is actually exactly the way it happened," and stuff like that.
That's horrific.
And I'm like, okay, and
wow,
and they get some sort of cathartic stuff.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So there are two sides of that.
Yeah.
Coin. So
and people are so different, right? How they're going to take in information, and they know that you're not promoting it. It's just a cartoon / commentary.
It is. It's just it is kind of it's kind of therapy to me, just to because I feel like if I get the ugly stuff out of my head and onto the paper, it's cathartic for me. And I feel like I've just become like a more easygoing person in the last 20 years. Maybe that's also called aging.
Yeah, it's like mellowing out a little bit.
But I think it really helps just to get all that crap over there, and then I mean, you do art to get something out of you, and all art is kind of therapy. So yeah, I don't remember if there's a question.
No. You answered it in a way, in terms of like, it was about the negative comments, but just how you dove into it, it gives a lot more insight into even that. And you mentioned like crossing the line, people saying that. Do you have a line that you could cross, or is it like we're just gonna do whatever?
There is a line there. It's very like blurry and squiggly.
Okay. Does it always keep going?
It's always moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it goes up and down. But yeah, there is like I like some of the early stuff I do. It's like I wouldn't do this one now, but like not that I wouldn't make fun of that particular thing. I wouldn't. I would do it in a more I guess classy way. It's
classy, controversial.
I was more like I was more kind of almost, I don't want to say brutal, but more just maybe like raw punk.
Yeah, okay.
But now I'm maybe like a punk band that has kind of learned their instruments.
It's like, we can actually play this now.
Yeah, we could keep a beat, but they couldn't back then. So it was more kind of, rushed, and I didn't give a fuck. Can I say?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, if we need to beep it, we can.
Okay. Good, okay.
On the audio part,
you have to bleep it twice so far. Okay.
On the audio part, I usually keep it family friendly, but it's all good.
Okay, cool.
I think, especially if people check out which they will for sure, check out your cartoons, because us talking about it, it makes it so much more intriguing. Right? To be like, what do they mean? It's like a stick figure with a penis doing what? It's like a lot of things that you probably
doing everything a stick figure can do with a penis.
Yes, exactly.
Positive and negative things.
Yeah.
But yes, the line is kind of always in my head, and also part of the just whole craft is, here I am. I have this thought about this horrific, horrible, disgusting thing.
Yeah.
That really you shouldn't joke about. So I'm like, so how can I joke about it without crossing that blurry, squiggly line in my head? And that's always a sport, and that's why it kind of always bugs me when comedians complain about woke culture. When I go like, you can't say anything, or the woke is ruining comedy, and I was like, no, it's your lack of imagination that's ruining your comedy.
Tell 'em.
Because you just have to find a way. There's always a way to joke about anything. You just have to be good at it. And if you're not, then you shouldn't do comedy. It's like when comedians complain about people not laughing, it's because they are not funny. It's science.
It's like if everyone else in the room does not agree with you, maybe it's you. Yeah, right.
Absolutely. That's the way it is, and and so finding that way, that's what keeps you on your toes and keeps you evolving. So if there are things that I could say 10 years ago that I can't say now, and that's a good thing, because the line is moving. If it wouldn't move, then I wouldn't move,
So you feel like you've evolved with the changing of the time? Because it's true. I mean, things were very much different. In the 90s, 2000s, like people were doing even TV shows, right? There's TV shows that were exploiting the crap out of people. Yes. So I think, you're right. Like the culture we've learned and gotten better and like more inclusive, but at the same time still can laugh at each other.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And also I think it's important to just, sometimes just make fun of the way we are evolving also, because I consider myself to be woke, but I also like to make fun of wokeness, because it makes, everything makes monkeys out of us. So,
true. And there's always an extreme to everything. Yeah. Right? Like you could be, it's like, all right, just chill out a little bit, right? Like we're still all humans. So, yeah.
So somebody sent me a message the other day, and he described me as I was politically incorrect without being anti-woke. And I was like, yeah, that's what I am. Thank you. I feel so seen.
It's like your new t-shirt.
That's what I'm doing. Because I have like sometimes made like a comment about people who say certain hateful things are assholes, and but then the comments go like, hey, who are you to call those people assholes after everything you've just said?
Yeah,
like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I don't have the proper answer for that, but now I have. Yes, because I'm politically incorrect, but not anti-woke.
And if you know that you can say it, or you know that you're capable of saying it, then you have at least some relation to understanding assholes. So you could be like, I get it, but also it's not cool. Right?
It's. I mean, also you have to. Sometimes you miss the mark, and then you just take responsibility for it. But it hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah, that you've not taken responsibility for it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm flying too close to the sun right now.
Okay. And I mean, the topics that you hit on, it's all sorts. Like you mentioned, like sexual assault, religion. There's people unaliving themselves, death in general. Like there's a lot that is going on, right? Even like political issues, which are tons. So you have plenty of material for the rest of your life. Is there ever a topic or something that you drew that you were like, ooh, this is really gonna rile people up? Like you could just feel it in your core that this is gonna send people off the cliff.
If it's if it's political or like relevant to present atrocities, I know people will get riled up, but I also know that people will start talking, so I'm more excited about the fact that there's gonna be a discourse or something like that. But I rarely think like people are gonna be so pissed, but sometimes I know that some people are going to be pissed, but it's the right people that are going to be pissed off. So I do kind of like pissing up the right people. For example, I made not even a really good joke, but it was just like a joke about like a racist organization here in Iceland. And I knew they racists really have thin skin.
Yes. Always calling everybody else fragile, and yet they're the first to be offended. It's like
really like you can't joke about anything. Well, you can't joke about us. You don't joke about us.
Yeah.
And they get really like they get really angry. And I have learned recently not to read the comments then, because I don't need that in my life, because they get really angry and just it's called hate groups for a reason. Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but here we are. So in terms of your books, you've had for instance, like Should You Be Laughing at This? Like, you have a large international audience. What are some of, if you can remember, the funniest reactions that you've had from people who were maybe not familiar with your work and then encountered it and they were like, and non-Icelanders I'm talking about, and they were just like, had to express to you what they were thinking or feeling?
That's a good question. Because nowadays I only see most of the reactions I see are just comments.
Okay.
But I used to, when in the early days when whenever a book came out, I used to do this really sad, creepy stuff of just hanging around, being in bookstores and just seeing if somebody would pick up my book, and I would just be hiding somewhere and watching them read.
But also
and
cool,
they would laugh.
Yeah.
And I would be happy. So that totally, that's that's the reason. That's the best thing about stand-up comedy, for example, because if you go do that, you get the instant reaction and instant gratification of people just liking your stuff. You don't have to just count the likes on your social media page. But I remember Susan Sarandon liked my stuff and bought my book.
Ooh, nice.
So that was and that was one of the most Icelandic thing that ever happened to me, because I read about it in the paper.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon likes Hugleikur stuff.
He's like, stamped legit, right?
That was news. That was like back page news.
But she's awesome. So I think that is a legitimate thing to be very proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just in Iceland though, actually about your family. This is one of the questions I got from my audience I thought was great, was what does your family think about your comedy and like your cartoons?
My mom loves it. I think I got my sense of humor from her.
Okay.
And she sometimes even like there's one joke that I did was where somebody says, oh, you have your father's eyes, says it to a little kid, and the kid says, how do you know? Did you find the body? And and I've heard her quote it because sometimes.
Oh my God, your mom's like
somebody was saying it literally to a kid in like a family situation, like, oh, you have your father's eyes, and then I hear my mom mumble, how do you know? Do you find the body? And
I love that your mom's like your biggest fan. That is so sweet. Like, and also hilarious because it's like these jokes are intense.
she has a really she has a wicked sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's where I get it from. And I also come from like a big clan of artists. So
So growing up, there was this freedom maybe of how you expressed yourself?
Yeah. We didn't do a lot, like my extended family doesn't do a lot of like complimenting each other. They just do art, and I guess if they don't like say anything, they like it, so I believe they like it.
So it's the opposite. It's like, if I hear nothing, that's good news.
Yeah. I mean,
that's interesting.
yeah, they haven't. I mean, they bought my books for for Christmas presents. So yeah, that's confirmation enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And we talked a little bit about like, since we're on your family, in Iceland in general, right? Like comedy, and whether or not it's a survival thing or maybe it's a rebellion thing, who knows? But I'm just wondering, from your perspective, since you grew up in this family of like artists, and you've been living and growing up here for the most part, do you find that your comedy somewhat not only like is a part of the psyche, or do you think it goes much farther than that? Like, do you think you've really pushed it past what can be relatable to your idea of Icelandic humor?
Yeah. Well, I never like purposefully thought of it as Icelandic humor. So I'm not really sure, really.
Yeah.
Because whenever, all my stuff, I feel like it's just something whenever I make up a funny situation in my head, I just write it down. What it is now, it is just my job.
Yeah.
And what I do have to do is just to remind myself regularly that it is my job, and I'm really lucky. Well, I sometimes kind of just shake my head, like, I can't believe this is happening. I should be very grateful. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm paying my bills.
Yeah, you're making a living.
Yeah, I'm making a living, and it's just because of these stick figures. So now it's just pretty much the thought process isn't really. I've started trying to kind of define what it is. I'm just trying to like see how much longer I can do it, really. And hopefully
you're always in disbelief. It's like, oh, another day and this is working.
It's like next year I would be doing this for 25 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
So that's
incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if I can go 50, that's a success.
Yeah. And you're also like cementing yourself in not just like the society, but like internationally as your style. Does that ever feel a little bit restricting though?
It is restricting, but that's kind of, it's also, I feel like I made these rules. There are some rules for my like the way I draw, and like I always draw them like this big. This is the size of a stick figure that I draw. So
wow.
It's tiny.
Tiny, yeah.
And so that's one of the rules. Just always make it tiny, and they must never have mouths unless they have something in their mouth.
Which you can leave that to your imagination. So.
It's like straight little rules like that. But sometimes I break them to mix it up. But I also, like, on the side, I do a lot of other stuff. So I do write, I write for television a lot of the time, and I've the stand-up thing. I've been doing that for a while. I'm taking a break from it right now because I've been juggling too many balls, really.
Sounds like one of your comics. It's like coming to life.
Yes. That's, I'm picturing it. And so whenever I find I'm also like making I'm making a board game.
Oh, cool.
I'm making a board game called Icelandingabrók.
Okay, Icelandingabrók. Not
yes.
Bók. Okay, just to make sure I heard that right.
Brók, like Icelandic underpants.
Yeah.
And it's. Have you heard about the game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yes. 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon or something like that. Yeah.
Separation Kevin Bacon. Yeah. It's like that, but it's about Icelandic people and the people they've slept with. Oh. So, like, me and my friend, we were just, when we were partying, we made up this game, and where she said something like, hey, okay, she named 2 people that we knew, and we have to kind of connect them through bedfellows. And I just made a board game out of that. That's coming this fall. So I always try to. So I draw 1 stick figure joke a day. So that's kind of the main line of my income.
Yeah.
But then on the side, I do stuff like this. I try to find weird stuff to do on the side while the stick figures are paying my bills.
Yeah.
So
it's like hobby things that maybe could turn into significant stuff, maybe, but it's not as important because you at least have your stick figures.
I'm not sure if the board game is going to sell really well, because it's really it's very hard to market. Like, don't play it with your family.
Yeah.
Only with people you know. Yeah. And if none of you haven't slept with anyone, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, it's like, ooh. Can get a little awkward.
Yeah, but it's more like a kind of the whole board game is actually just a joke.
Yeah,
a joke that I made it. So that's a
Which
fun thing to do.
Oftentimes people like that, just like for not for maybe playing it, but just for owning it as a conversation piece or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something you could play in very specific situations.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see people at parties,
right,
drinking a lot and then being like, let's just bring this down. And there was a show actually where they were playing some weird game where if your phone rang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And they had to someone else had to pick it up.
It was a movie, right?
Yeah, it was exactly. It was a movie, yes.
Yeah.
So they reminds me of that, of this kind of
it's
like,
kind
everyone's
of like
having a
that.
good time, and then someone makes a suggestion and you're like, all right, everyone gets a little nervous.
Yeah, there is a warning label on the game that says it could ruin friendships and relationships. So.
Yeah. So your routine then, it sounds like you're quite disciplined in that there's a comic or like a stick figure that you're doing a day. Is it like you mentioned you have your book, you write down things. Do you then go, okay, I have my certain time of day, or you just find some time of the day where you have to do this and you just make it part of, how you process and create?
It's my safety net and lifeline and everything is my manager, who I share an office with. She's my business partner as well. So she's the reason I remember to do stuff.
She's your other brain.
Yeah, she's my other brain. She's the business part. I'm creative and she's accounts.
Got it.
And
it's important to do that though. Yeah, when it's really not your strength, important. You don't want to be bogged down.
Oh, absolutely. It's just I wouldn't be working. I would have a regular job if it wasn't for her. And so she just reminds me every day what I'm something I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to answer a certain email, or I have to finish up, the designing of the board game box or whatever. And I remind myself of the whole 1 stick figure joke a day, because I have this Patreon, and they also just that the fact that people are paying me to exist is just that's a constant reminder. I cannot let them down.
Yeah, you're accountable for what you've promised.
Right.
Which is great. It's nice, and because it's really easy, I think, to be an artist or a creative. And you get so caught up in like your ideas that you don't actually ever put them down or put them out. And all of a sudden it's like, I could be making money off of this, or I could be making a living, but you've stalled in your brain, you know what I mean? Like you've kept yourself from allowing
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's really important. I go to her name is Raquel, and I go to her and I say like, okay, I want to make this kind of this book, or I want to make this board game. And she's like, okay, so how long will it take you? Probably like 4 months. Okay, so we're gonna finish it here in September. I'm like, yes, and then I have to do it.
Yeah, it's like you have a timeline, which is so true. That pressure, even if it's a self-imposed thing, well, at least you have an accountability partner. Like that's for me and going to the gym. Like honestly, I wouldn't go unless I pay a trainer, because they're waiting for me, and I also paid, right? So it's like I am showing up, I'm getting my money's worth, and also the trainer's great, but. Otherwise, I would delay it. I would snooze. I wouldn't make it to the gym. Like, it's a totally different thing.
She is my trainer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you've written comics, plays, obviously, board games, all these different things. And as a stand-up comedian, do you feel like there's one medium that you're most comfortable with that, that just feels like really great to you?
I think I'm most comfortable with just the original stick figure
Yeah.
stuff because I've been doing that for the longest time, and it's also just the way I do them is just the way I do them.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what I'm doing there. Even if when I do a stupid joke, I know it's a stupid joke, and but if I do like a I know, I kind of know exactly what I'm doing every time.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I don't know what I'm doing, and that's also kind of what makes the joke funny.
Okay. What about your stand-up? Is that, because that's a pretty tough, in my opinion, as someone who's never done stand-up, to be fair, but it just feels like it's a tough thing to walk into, even if you're doing it for a while, because every crowd could be different.
It's super scary. I mean, you shouldn't do it. It's
I'm not planning to. I mean, all people who do.
People who do it are there's something wrong with them, I guess. But I like when I started doing it. I remember like 2 weeks before I did my first stand-up gig. I remember having a conversation with someone and saying like, yeah, stand-up. That's one thing I'm definitely never going to do, because at that time I had written for television, I had done plays, and I had done these books and all sorts of stuff. But okay, so I was all over the place. But okay, I'm not gonna do stand-up because that looks horrifying.
Yeah, it does.
But then Ari Eldjot, my cousin, who is a stand-up...
of course he's your cousin.
Yes,
right? Like,
and he had just recently started at the time. And he said, you should do it. And I said, yes, I should. I should do it. So that was all it took.
Yeah.
And then he said, we have a gig in a couple of weeks. And I was like, okay.
Wait, what?
So I'm doing...
Talk about a deadline.
So should I? Okay, I'll do. So that's similar to when I talked to Raquel. I was like, okay, so I have to write something in 2 weeks, which I did, and I did it, and it helped that I was already like known for my humor, so people were expecting something. So like my first stand-up gig went really well, which is not a common thing.
No.
So I was really lucky that way. So I was almost. Weirdly, doing stand-up for me in Iceland was kind of a safe space to do stand-up because people just associated me with my jokes, and so they assumed that I was funny. And so they
already came in laughing.
Yeah, they already came in laughing. So yes, I was funny, but it doesn't change the fact that just before you go on stage, it's the scariest thing you ever do, and you are always like, why am I doing this? Why I'm not at home?
Yeah.
I could be at home watching television, which is the reason I'm taking a break right now, because I found myself still thinking it. I was like at home, and I'm like, oh no, I have a stand-up gig, which means I have to stand up and go somewhere.
And people are expecting me to be funny today.
Yeah, I already turned on a television. I really like it. It's addictive, and it's it's one of the best feelings in the world. Is just doing well at a stand-up gig. But also I like just being at home after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And just watching TV. So
that's definitely an aging thing too.
Yeah, that's an aging thing. So I'm trying that out, but definitely I can feel like the stand-up demon on my shoulder, like, you want to go back.
So
don't
you have this,
okay. Yeah, whenever I have a conversation or anything, the stand-up demon goes like, yeah, you have a bit about that, don't you? You have a take on that. You'd say that on stage.
Do you find yourself fighting it, or you're just like, no, you're right, I need to do something?
I find myself just saying I'm storing it, or I kind of just do it in like a social situation,
okay.
which is something a lot of stand-up comics do. They do material in social situations just to see if it works.
Feel it out a little bit, yeah.
And comedians can always see when the other comedians are doing, like, you're doing a bit. You're just practicing a bit on me. You're not having a conversation.
It's like I'm your guinea pig. That's great, though. I look forward to when you come back to doing your stand-up.
Yeah.
Whenever you decide, of course.
Whenever.
Yeah.
It will happen. I can't fight it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've been really wanting to try that maybe gets you out of your comfort zone, but you're just like, ooh, I'm not sure?
I recently started like directing. I directed a TV show. I had already kind of directed an animated show, which is totally different from directing live action, but I did direct some live action recently, which will be a TV show that comes out next year, I believe.
Nice.
And I would like to do more of that.
Okay. Directing is quite an involved.
It's really it's a lot of work. So I would like to do that, but I think maybe just like a sketch situation or something like that.
Because you've written for Automatiscope
as
well, and how is that? Because obviously this is also, for people who are not aware, for New Year's Eve there's a yearly show, a sketch show, kind of like SNL, right? Of like a wrap up of the year of like things that have happened, political commentary, blah blah, blah, jokes. It can be random, whatever. And so every year, like, basically the whole nation is watching this before
the show that everyone watches.
Yes. And so writing for that, because first of all, the commentary on it, the next, like, when people meet at work, you know, around the water cooler is such a big thing, whether or not they enjoyed it. So for you, when you write jokes for that, since it is national television, how much do you feel you're able to push the line there, right? Because that's really what is part of what makes you unique, right? Is like going over that line. So I'm just wondering, have you had any fun moments where you were like, "Ooh, I pushed that a little bit, and it kind of worked out."
Yeah, I'm always glad that this, because most of the time they kind of if I go over a line, they take it back.
They bring you back. They're reeling you in.
So and I also know that, I've been doing. I think I've done it 6 times now, the Automatascope, and so in the last 3-4 times, it's become just kind of a gig. So and also because it's a collaboration, there's also like a writer's room of 6 people. It's kind of all about try to get as many sketches in as you can.
Okay.
So I don't really find myself trying to get the Dagsson-esque stuff in there.
Okay.
But I do. But I cannot be myself. I can't not be myself.
Yeah.
And so I do that, and I'm always happy when a director calls me up and it's like, that punchline you were worried about, we're gonna keep it in.
Yeah.
You're yes. Okay. Awesome. The right people are gonna be so pissed.
Yeah, exactly. Because it does. I mean, there are a lot of, just because there are so many people who don't know about what this is, who watch my content, like, it really sometimes can push the line, and sometimes it can be a little soft. It depends on how people are feeling that year. But politicians, for the most part, I feel like they get it full on, because I mean, politicians often do things that are ridiculous, and you're just like, this is not even a joke. Like, I didn't have to write the joke; you just did it, and that was the real life situation, right? So,
I know. I mean, there are many reasons I would not go into politics or become a politician ever, but many reasons. But number one is because of Automatascope. Yeah,
because you're gonna shredded
like this. Watch this show that everyone watches and see them just like murder me.
Yes, intense. Yeah,
because I deserve it. No, it's not. Why would you live like that?
What about being on screen?
Oh, I've been on screen and I don't like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say about like directing and writing, and I was like, I wonder how he feels about that. That's probably one of your most like uncomfortable situations you would be in, right? It's like,
for some reason, if I watch,
even though you do stand up, this is interesting.
Exactly, right? Because for some reason, if I watch stand up with me, I that doesn't bother me. It's like I'm another person. Or I don't know why that I find that okay.
Yeah,
but whenever I do some acting, I can't watch it.
Yeah, interesting. You feel cringe.
Yeah, I was like, I can see through that act.
It's like you're pretending.
Yeah. And also like interviews, I purposefully don't watch them either, because I guess it's just like some deep-seated self-deprecating thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm just an artist. If I don't hate myself, I'm like.
It's like, are you an artist?
Am I an artist? Like,
it's like I must suffer.
Yeah, people love themselves too much these days.
Wow. Self-esteem is an all-time high, and it's terrible.
You need
it's
to
ruining
despise
creativity
yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
If you just love yourself, that's psychopathic.
It's like, what is there to improve? Nothing. You're a narcissist. Okay, so that's all right. We're going off the deep end, but that's okay. You know, there's no self-diagnosis happening here at all. So what can people look forward to? Because obviously you talked about like your board games coming up. That's for an Icelandic audience.
Yeah. I don't think it would work at all
outside
of Iceland.
No. Even though I can guarantee you some people would want to get it just for the fun of it.
Or something.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps actually. I mean, that's a prime location for all sorts of well, not only like engaging sexually, but like passing things on to each other. Jeez.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Anyways, that's what makes it awkward too. But
okay, it's true.
So we know we're getting at least for the next year. You have all your stick figure things, so plenty of content coming out. But what other things are you working on that you're excited about that might be for a broader audience?
Yeah, well, there's gonna be another book, which is a stick figure book that's coming out. I am working on actually writing a comic, which I don't illustrate, which I find proper illustrators to.
Okay, so you're hiring people to do this.
And it's like a superhero comic, but it's a superhero comic with a twist.
With a dark twist?
With a dark twist, because it's more like it's a superhero that kills, and I'm gonna say no more.
Okay.
Because I will launch the introduction, hopefully at the end of this year.
Okay.
But
is it almost like an anti-hero type of thing?
It is an anti-hero.
Okay.
And it's a very political anti-hero, and it will get the right people picked.
You're like, this is gonna really dig it into the yeah, because there's been so many movies of villains. And then you hear their origin story and you're like, oh, I understand why you're like that, right?
Exactly. So I get where you're coming from, Thanos.
Yeah, it's like, I would have killed all the Dalmatians too, right? So it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, Thanos, funny enough, in my opinion, does make some sense. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really logical.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's right.
Right. I can't say that part. I don't want to go there.
Okay, but he's worried about the environment.
He has genuine concerns. I mean, this is another one of when we talk about extreme. It could be extreme of everything. It's like, I mean, maybe you could just take it a notch down, right? Like, it's gonna be okay.
Like, maybe not 50%.
Exactly. And not like instantly, right? It's like there's no time to prepare for this.
Exactly. Yeah. Have some vetting,
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a go-away party.
But also, I mean, the fact that it was random, that's kind of,
That also is helpful and not, right? Because at least if there was a list, it's like, let me say bye to grandpa now, and then my children, you know what I mean? Yeah. But now it's like, they're just gone.
Yeah.
And you're left and you're just bawling, right? That sucks. Yeah. Or a whole family you have survivor's guilt. So it's like your family got left alone and everyone else on the block is like, I hate you so much. You and your loving family.
Thanos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You only think about yourself and the environment.
Yeah, and the environment. Yeah. Important. Where can people find you? Like, where are you most active? I do know where you're most active, but I want you to tell people anyway so that I can also link to it.
Yes, I have my social media pages, which are Instagram and Facebook. I no longer do the Twitter thing because, I didn't like Twitter being such a cesspool of horribleness that it is. I would think my stuff would get some, traction there, but it doesn't.
Weird.
So I just quit. They don't want me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go where they want me. Exactly. Yeah.
But then also I'm on Patreon, where you can see all of my. Whenever I draw a joke, I release it instantly on Patreon. So whatever you see on Patreon, it's fresh, and you can...
And it's in direct support of you. And I think that's important.
Absolutely.
For supporting art that you like.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Patreon, so definitely go on there, check that out. And that's a really great what do you call it, like benefit that people get.
Yeah, I love Patreon, and I love, like, I support a lot of artists on Patreon myself, and it's always fun to get a ping on Patreon app and it's like, oh, there's a new Johnny Ryan joke there. Have you know about Johnny Ryan?
No.
He's worse than me.
Oh, okay. I have to check it out.
Yep.
or maybe I shouldn't. I'm not
maybe
sure.
You shouldn't. But then I am on my webpage, dagsson.com.
Yes. Yeah. Where you can also get like your books and different merch that you have as well.
All sorts of merch.
Yeah, so if you want to wear
t-shirts
Dagsson.
and socks. And
yes, exactly.
And
maybe watercolors. Maybe we'll do a limited edition watercolor.
You can buy original art there, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you.
All right.
Before we end off. And that is, what is your favorite Icelandic word or phrase?
Yes. My favorite word is very random. And it's strumpapúsl.
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 Púsl.
Púsl. Yeah.
Strumpapúsl.
Yeah.
Okay.
It means Smurf puzzle.
Smurf puzzle. Oh, I knew strumpet, but I was like, what's puls? Okay. That SL at the end is very...
Yeah. I just like the way it sounds. There's no... I just once heard a kid say it because a kid got a Smurf puzzle for Christmas. Oh, I asked, what did you get for Christmas? And he said, strumpapúsl. And it was just the most adorable word ever.
That's so innocent. Like your comics. So innocent. And yet something will happen at some point with this,
like the Smurfs.
The Smurf
so
puzzle.
Innocent, but when you think about it,
True.
Some things seriously fucked up.
Yes. There's a lot going on there. And I'm not so sure if Gargamel is the worst ever. I think that in the community, there's something that...
I think Papa Smurf is the one you should be worried about.
Right.
It's kind of political if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of older cartoons always, like, not all of them, but have this underlining element where you're like, what are they trying to say?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now these days it's just what is it? I don't know if the Teletubbies still exist, but it's very not even innocent, but like alien creepy.
Yeah, it's in a different way.
Yeah. No offense to all the people who enjoy that. Yes. I'm not saying you have to stop watching, but it's as adults you look at it, you're like, why are children interested in this?
I guess children are just little creeps,
Yeah. I mean, they all grow up to be older creeps too. Sometimes. Not everybody.
Yes.
But it's been amazing chatting with you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm so glad that we got to dive a little bit into your brain. It's much darker, I'm sure, than what we've talked about, but
some days.
But there's a glimpse, And so I really appreciate you coming on, sharing, and I'm excited for people who have not had the chance to encounter your work to do that. And I'm sure you'll have some more people who'll be like, oh my God, commenting positively on your comment section.
Please leave a positive comment.
Yes. So thanks again for coming, and I'm excited about people hearing our conversation.
Thanks for having me. This was nice.
Awesome.